The following is a preview of The Color of Darkness, the final tale of Oakie Dokes by Astrid Meadows, soon to be featured in Tales from the Galaxies Opera House. About an hour in, the opera approached its climax. The low rumble of bass filled Oakie's box. She took it in like a breath of fresh air. Somehow, it was enough to throw her back into the haze of her daydream. She was back in her apartment, standing over the filleted Mon Calamari like one of those whitecoats who worked the Nerf slaughterhouses, a gleaming axe in her hand. The axe was one she'd never before seen, with a serrated edge and a black-on-black handle, much like a gorgmongerer's cleaver. Her arm moved, as if painting a stroke on canvas, but not toward the dead Mon Calamari. That deed was done, and the vivisection could be painted for a pretty sum. No, she swung the axe at a shadowy figure who stood near the door. It fell through skin, then sinew, then muscle, then bone, with practiced ease, until Oakie was drenched in bright scarlet. She typically hated such a mess, and yet, in her dream, the blood was like bliss. The victim remained a shadow she did not know, and perhaps never would. Her inspiration was such she didn't need to. But the skull she held aloft after finishing her carving was distinctly Anzat. Wait a minute. Anzat? Why the hell? The final notes of Squid Lake wrenched her from her thoughts. She felt an uneasy sting in her skull which set her teeth to grinding. The Gungan at her side seemed to be taking it worse. Oakie spared herself a glance at him as he clutched his head, pawing around his bulbous snout and towering eye stalks like an imbecile. She wanted to go back to her dream. That was where the inspiration was, and, if she lost it now, she'd have nothing to auction at Ritzenbacher's next week. She powered through the pain, back into the dreaming world. If she couldn't break back in, the muse would vanish. There was the dead Anzat, a mangled mess of gore and tattered skin made to look more like a poorly carved Nerf stake than a sentient. Along the walls, near the quaint little wooden borders that separated the walls from the floors, stood arms and legs and bones of every type. The room changed when Oakie followed the wall. A dark-skinned man with an ugly tattoo rattled against his chains, tearing off his own arm in the process. Then the room turned to a solid block of glass. In the open air outside, she watched a Twi'lek fall to his death, saw an exploding staff speeder take out half an expressway, and stood in awe of a torrential downpour of body parts, all dropped from the four hands of a four-armed skeletal shadow. Oakie's head swam, almost as if her skull were filling with blood. And though the dream grew murky, she saw what she needed to see plain as a clear summer's day. A human man, exceptionally ugly, delivered a speech to a menagerie of beings just as unpleasant. Blood ran through the gutters, smoke poured along the 500 Republica, and Coruscant ran rifer with death than it had even during the battle. Oakie did not believe in prophecy, but she had paid more than her fair share of tithes to the tract over the past 3 years. If this was the future, it looked bright. The opera house erupted in applause, but that wasn't the sound that wrenched her from her vision. It was a squelch, followed by the taste of blood on her lips, and the sight of a shattered eyeball stuck where her dress folded at her breast. She turned to the Gungan, and saw that he was missing a head.